Hello. I want to apologize for the confusion. I look back at it and it is kind of confusing. So what I'm going to do is for the assignment that on Canvas says Color 3, applying color schemes and forms in an artwork. The other dates I think will be okay, but I want to change the due date to tomorrow, Wednesday the 10th, to give us just a little more time. Then you still have the late past and the submission closing. That should be plenty of time. And then on Thursday instead of Wednesday, we'll start with the linear perspective, work some with that. But in looking at the PowerPoint, basically what you want to do is to create a page on which you can use the color schemes. Those four different schemes, and the slides, slide 1 tells you how to measure and cut one sheet, so you want to stick with that. Starting on slide 2, let this video that you're watching right now replace slide 2, slide 3, and slide 4, slide 5, and 6. So 2 through 6 is how to create this drawing. Then with the color schemes at the end, that can stay the same. So here's what I've done. I tried to kind of stick with the illustrations that I had on the original PowerPoint. And so what you want to do is just pick some images. You can print them out. You can work from the actual box if you want. It can really be anything. It doesn't have to be a cereal box or a game box or something. This is a wallpaper pattern. Anything like this, it's kind of an image, because what we're going to do is just abstract from it and just take outlines and make a design. So what I did is I started with, just realized my camera's upside down. Let me adjust that real quick. Okay, so I've got my camera right now. I took parts, like I took part of Frankenberry, and I laid this down and traced over it. So you can see I just got bits and pieces just to kind of make a shape. Then I took parts of the NBA game. So I've got him here. Notice too I turned it different directions and I'm only getting the outlines. Then I took this part right there. Then I took some pieces from the found a space, I've forgotten exactly which one I used now, and traced some of these, and I've got something going off all the edges. So what it amounts to is you just created this little design, and what we're doing is pulling from things out of popular culture. This is what we'll talk about later on in class, called pop art. Then what you want to do is to take a full sheet, a second sheet like this. Now this is different than when we did the flip. We did the one where he flipped. It kind of looks the same, but we're not going to flip it. All you're going to do is trace it here, 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 and here, and you're just scooting around. So let me get that done. So now that you've got all four traced, and again, since this kind of looks like when we did recently, instead of flipping it, you just put it under and trace it here, 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 and here. What you want are four of the exact same thing so that it shows what changes it makes when you do the color scheme. So you'll have your monochromatic color scheme. You'll choose a color and use the lights and darks here. You'll choose a complementary. You'll choose a complementary set. So you're making two choices, which color scheme and also which colors go in it. Then you'll do one that has a triad, and you'll pick one of the triads. Those are the two main ones. And you'll do an analogous. So that little family, that little train of colors that goes around. And you'll have the same thing done. Now, on monochromatic, it says it in the definition that you're using the tints and shades. So you can use lighter and darker versions. You can do the same thing with these. Just be careful not to change it. Like you wouldn't want to, for example, on the complement of blue and orange, you wouldn't want to use yellow, orange, and red, orange. Try to avoid doing that. But I want to show you a little trick on how to create black, which will darken a color since you don't have that in your set. So what we're going to do is work on creating shades of colors, shades being darker, without using a black colored pencil. There are a few circumstances where you would want to use black in a drawing, but what really looks better artistically is to create your own color version. So really what it is using the idea of brown. If you look back on your color wheel, remember that brown is in the middle of all the primaries. This technique I'm going to show you is still using just these three pencils, red, yellow, and blue, and I'm going to use orange for an example, but this will work on any color. You just have to apply what you know from the color wheel. So I mixed up an orange, got that already done. Now if I wanted to make that darker, you kind of think, well, I'll just put more red in it. Really what you're doing is you're changing the color instead of the value of that color. You're making it a red orange instead of an orange. What you want to do to create black, really what it is extreme brown. Remember, brown is a mixture of different amounts of all the primaries. So if I want to leave one side orange and make the other side a little bit darker, what I'm going to do is take first of all, a really light layer of blue. And what that's doing technically is it's creating brown there. But what's going to happen is you're going to begin to layer over that. You can see just a little bit changes it right away. So if you look at it as far as the recipe, that's brown. It's got red, yellow, and blue. But with the other orange, as you mix into it, it's going to read as just a darker orange. Now, I didn't add much, didn't take a whole lot. And it's not changing to red orange because I keep adding more yellow with it. It's just that little bit of blue in there. And you can do that with any color. So what it would look like on the color wheel is you've got brown in the middle, which I don't have on this one. And if you wanted to darken any color, you just pull the other primaries. So I darkened orange by pulling in some blue. If I wanted to darken green, I'd pull in some red to make a darker green. We'll make violet and we'll pull in some yellow. That sounds strange, to darken to add yellow, but it really does work. It takes a little of experimentation, but what it does is it gives you a lot more variety here. So instead of just using red, yellow, and blue, or just orange, green, and violet, if you do your triad, let's say right here, you can do dark and light versions of that color. But what I'll look for on this is, first of all, this design, and again, any version. It doesn't have to be exactly like those instructions. We're kind of replacing those since they were hard to understand. But anything where you trace a few different things, come up with just kind of the outline so you can fill them in. You can kind of see where it came from, but it becomes abstract. Then you put that in each box. So hopefully that will solve that problem. And then what you do is you just apply your color schemes. I would just start up here, maybe go around clockwise, do a monochromatic one, do a complementary, you have choices, do a triad, you have choices, and analogous. And that way you can see the exact same design done with the different color schemes. So from there on down in the PowerPoint, starting with slide number 7, it says it's step 6. Reference the color wheel and color scheme to make each rectangle a different color scheme. So I've got that labeled there with some examples. And then what I'm grading on, it says good overall composition. So that's what I've re-explained here. Repeat it 4 times, multiple sources. So you looked at different things to trace that. You've applied the color schemes correctly, and you've done a good job. Quality craftsmanship. So again, I do apologize for that being not very clear, But hopefully this clears that up, and we'll add an extra day class time on that to account for that little bit of confusion and move on from there. All right.